What about all the suffering in the world? A talk with Unmani.
Today's theme is what about all the suffering in the world? And it certainly does seem that there is a lot of suffering in the world. Whether it is natural disasters, whether it is wars in various countries and places, or whether it is human emotional suffering, the suffering of animals, the suffering of children, mental suffering, all kinds of suffering. And in our modern day, where we can just pick up our phone and scroll through so many videos or news programs, or even just on social media, seeing all these images of suffering and various commentary about the suffering, what it means, why it's happening. And it's no wonder that we get touched, that we feel very uncomfortable when we see it, when we feel it. And as we deal with any discomfort in our own personal lives, we have our strategies, our protection mechanisms to avoid feeling too much or feeling overwhelmed or even feeling anything at all. And those strategies can be some kind of disassociation. And it's easy to disassociate when it's all this information is so available. We just can keep scrolling through the next image and the next image. In a way, it's easy to just brush it off and say, well, it's not happening to me. It's not happening right here to my loved ones. And we can also flip to the opposite extreme. And it's just as much of a protection mechanism of making it mean so much to me. Adding a layer of drama and extra attention. Feeding a story of how terrible it is and how we must save the world and change the world, and we are somehow making ourselves feel guilty or bad for enjoying our lives even, or for not suffering when other people are suffering. And this is another way of not feeling, even though it seems to be the opposite. But when we feed the drama, the story of how terrible it is, or all this, the responsibility that we must all carry on our shoulders and the burden that we must live with, then instead of actually just feeling what is touched in you, we are going into this story so that we don't have to feel so much. So, we use all these different mechanisms to protect ourselves from the raw heartbreak of what we see or experience. And if we are to just meet it, whether it is right on our doorstep, whether it is people around us directly in our daily life, or whether it is on the news in some faraway country, and however it touches you, you might expect it to touch you in a great, strong way, and maybe it doesn't, or you might not expect it to touch you very much, and then it really does. So it can surprise you. And there's no right or wrong. It's not that it has to touch you, but it also is something to explore if you don't feel anything, to just check in and what's really going on here, to be as honest as you can with yourself, with how you are responding, how you are meeting this suffering, and also what you're calling suffering. This label of suffering is a very broad term, of course, and it can be about actual physical suffering, people in pain, not having enough food or water, or being bombed, or losing loved ones, or all these kind of very physical things that can happen, disease, and all kinds of things like this, or mental suffering and emotional suffering, abuse. But whatever it is, when we put this label of suffering on it, we may notice that there is a sneaky extra little label that might come in there with that label of suffering. A kind of a judgment that somehow it shouldn't be like this, that people shouldn't be suffering. And perhaps we have this extra little sneaky judgment because it is uncomfortable. It's heartbreaking to experience and to see and to feel. But who's to say that it shouldn't be happening? In fact, the very fact that it is happening means that it absolutely should be happening, because it is happening. Who are we to know what should or shouldn't be happening? Or to point the finger at those that we apparently blame for suffering? Blaming someone else, of course, is another way of avoiding feeling the heartbreak of the suffering. So you can either blame yourself for not doing enough, for not saving the whole world, or you blame others. But simply to meet the pain, to let it in, right? We all know suffering, right? In various ways. Mostly, I'm assuming that most of us don't know really extreme suffering in terms of war and big natural disasters and this kind of thing, luckily. But even so, we all know suffering to various degrees, whether it's in your present day life or whether it's in your childhood. We can relate to suffering. We know it. We feel it. And so when someone else is suffering, if we can really meet them in whatever they're experiencing, it's not about them, actually. It's about meeting ourselves. So then the question is, can we bear it? Well, the mind says perhaps, oh, it's too much for me. It's too overwhelming for me. I can't bear it. And this is, again, a protection mechanism. but actually who you really are as life itself has no limits to how much it can bear. I'm not saying that it will be comfortable for this body, but you are not the one that says, I can't bear it. And if you're not that one, then you can risk meeting the suffering in the world, in yourself. You can risk feeling it, letting it in, breathing into it. And of course, when we really meet someone else's pain, suffering, we really meet them in whatever is happening, this creates natural compassion. Really meeting is compassion. You know it in your own experience when you feel really met by someone, that your pain is really listened to and seen. Then this brings so much support in your own experience, right? We know this. So in really meeting someone else's suffering, even if they're just on the news or an image on social media, but still really meeting that in yourself. This cracks us open, right? This touches our hearts. And this makes us so available right now to hold the person suffering, the people suffering. And then we may be moved to take action. We may not be. But if we are moved to take any kind of action, it should come from this place, right, of really being touched, of really meeting what is here. Because so often we have all kinds of opinions about how we should help or how the people to blame should do something different. And it's all very conceptual and detached from feeling, from meeting. Then how do we know that what kind of action would come from there is really coming from something real? Because we're quite insensitive when we just come with an opinion, because we're disconnected from what we really feel. So if we drop all our opinions about any of it and just meet it, just not know what is right or wrong in it, whether it should or shouldn't be happening, just the way it is, and we simply meet it, all aspects of it. And breathe. Keep our feet on the ground. This is natural compassion, a natural responding, and a clarity that knows if there is a movement to take action, that knows exactly what kind of action is needed. Then it's not about action for me to feel better about myself. It's not about action to try not to feel by intellectualizing, but it's action that comes from love, from compassion. And it's action that is really a movement from heart to heart. the movement of life, which is the ultimate heart. And there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment in it. There's no should or shouldn't. Life includes suffering, whether we like it or not, or whether we should think it should be here or not. And our jobs is to feel it, to experience it. That's what we're here for. Not just to experience the pleasure and the joy and the sweetness, but to experience the whole spectrum of life. In fact, we cannot know joy and beauty and all the sweetness without also knowing the pain and the suffering. Without having our hearts cracked open, we cannot know love.